Hey there, today I'm going to talk about running in China. Whew! I'm making this video because I'm here at a design conference in Beijing in China. I've been to China 6 times before, but I haven't done a lot of running. And before I came this time, I tried to figure out some of the advantages and disadvantages of running in China. And I thought, well, if I was trying to find them out for myself, maybe I'd make a video and you could find out about some of them too. So that's the purpose of making this video. In this video, I'm going to talk about running on the Great Wall, then there's the Great Firewall, there's the Smog. There are all sorts of issues about running in China, and I thought I would try and demystify some of them in this video. Let's get going. One of the disadvantages of running in China can be the smog in the bigger cities. In Beijing, sometimes you can come and it can be very smoggy. If you were to look out that window on a smoggy day, well, you wouldn't really see very much. Sometimes the smog, it's hard to detect. If it's really dense, it's easy to detect. But some days it just looks like there's a mist that you think will burn off, but it doesn't. As it happens at the moment, it was -2 yesterday. I'll show some shots of me running around various places. It was very cold and it was very windy, but the good thing about the wind is it blows all the smog away. So a windy day can be good. You can see things on your phone to tell you the smog index. That's fairly common. If you can't sort of see it out the window, you can detect it. And on those kinds of days, I'm guessing most of you watching this video, if you come to China, will be staying in a hotel, and in which case sometimes you might have to abandon the outdoor running and go inside and jump onto the treadmill and just run inside for that particular day. Let's talk about the Great Firewall of China. As most of you know, China has some restrictions with regard to the internet. So certain things work, certain things don't work. Now, you can get a VPN, and lots of people get VPNs. And for Westerners, I don't think the Chinese government are particularly bothered about you using a VPN. But without a VPN, you find that, or virtual private network, what you find is that some apps work. So Google seem not to have a good relationship with the Chinese authorities, but Microsoft and Apple do. So almost no Google products work. You can't use YouTube, Google search, all those kinds of things. And sometimes when you're in China, some things work one day and not another day, including if you're using a VPN. But without a VPN, Bing works as a search engine. So instead of using Google, I would use Bing. All of my apps worked. Strava worked. So I was looking at Strava routes around Beijing, but it gives you really terrible routes. I went to look at a 5K run around this hotel, and it sort of sends you down along one highway, down another highway, down another highway, and back along another highway. Whereas in fact, there are very many beautiful places to run in Beijing. Rather than just running around the hotel, you could go on the metro to somewhere nice. There are very many beautiful parks to run in China, in Beijing, and yeah, find somewhere nice and run there. Before I came to China, I tried to buy a pair of carbon fiber Chinese running shoes. China makes a huge amount of the world's running shoes, but you don't see many large Chinese footwear brands. Li Ning is one. They have a Faidan, I think it's Faidan 3, and I think it won the Copenhagen, or somebody running in it won the Copenhagen Marathon. I think they might have been on the podium in Berlin. So it's a pretty good shoe, but I tried to buy one, and so my friends in China before I came, I tried to find through Google in the West and various things, could I find a good Chinese running store? I couldn't. I could find a lot of stores that they were like an Adidas store here or there, and you turn up and they're very lifestyle orientated. So I couldn't find a dedicated marathoning or running shoe shop. So I tried it in advance, and they do make some very good shoes, but they don't. I take a EU 48, UK 12, American men's 13, and the largest I could get was a 46. So even though I've seen very many, I'm not a tall person by any stretch of the imagination, but I couldn't find anybody with feet anywhere. They couldn't get any on the internet, so I just couldn't get a pair of shoes. I was in the sauna and the gym last night, or the swimming pool, and they give you these shoes to wear, but I brought my own. I'll show a clip of them. clearly see they were nothing near the size of my shoes. So yeah, I couldn't get any pair of Chinese running shoes, but they do have a lot of really good brands making really good shoes, but it's hard to get some in my size, and I did find it hard. I still haven't seen a sort of dedicated running shop, even though Beijing is huge. There's bound to be one somewhere, but yeah, I couldn't find one on my travels this time. One of the great things about running in China is how safe it all is. I don't speak any Chinese. I can't read Chinese characters, maybe one or two, but I can't really get around by doing that. What I do is I take a lot of photographs as I go around. My Chinese friends are always amused by this. I take lots of photographs all over the place, and then I breadcrumb my way by looking in my Apple map, and I can see the photo and I can see my way. And I find a very useful way of getting around here in Beijing, or actually in any city. The metro here works brilliantly. It's got a map in the same way you would. It's based on the London Underground map, Harry Beck's famous map, and with the sort of straight lines and angles in different colors for different lines and intersections clearly identified. Very, very easy to get around on the metro. I suppose it's modern life. You go up to a ticketing machine, it's all in Chinese, but you see a button that says English, you press that, and then instructions are very easy to follow. In one of the tube stations, we had to give ID before we could buy a ticket. I don't know why that was. It was not it wasn't like it was in Tiananmen Square or somewhere particularly sensitive, but somebody came up and helped us, and they negotiated all of that, and so that was unusual, but it is easy to get around. But if you are running, you need to bring a passport. We went to Tiananmen Square last night, and I think we were stopped 3 or 4 times for passports, and also your luggage is x-rayed, and there's all of that, and that happens quite frequently. But once you're in Tiananmen Square, you can run around. I mean, I'll show some pictures of me running, but you could run around. I was able to drop my monopod, take out the camera, take out the microphone, and nobody was bothered. There were other people making the similar kind of videos, many Chinese people, but all sorts of people making sort of, I don't know, TikTok videos. But there's all sorts of people doing that, and people, yeah, you can run very easily. You would need to bring a passport, but you can run very easily. A couple of years ago, I was out running without my passport, and I suddenly saw these 2 policemen coming in a small little police vehicle coming towards me. I thought, oh no, they're gonna stop me, and I'm gonna have to explain why I don't have a passport, and this is gonna be difficult because I don't speak any Chinese. Anyway, they came along and they just waved and smiled. I mean, I could see them staring at me, waving and smiling, and so I waved and smiled back, and so that was a bit of a relief. But yeah, you should bring a passport if you're at all times in China. It's handy. But once I was in Tiananmen Square, I said it was very easy. There are some very nice places in Beijing to run around. As I said, Strava, possibly because there's not that many people using Strava in Beijing, I don't know, but it doesn't give you great routes. But if you look on a map, there are lots of parks. The Olympic Park is really lovely to run around. Wide open space. There's lots of space. Lovely down by the bird's nest, and some really nice parts there. It's nice to run around Tiananmen Square, and there are lots and lots of parks in Beijing. So there are lots of really nice places to run. The general run-of-the-mill streets wouldn't be that interesting to run on, but certainly there are very nice places that you can run in Beijing. Running has grown in popularity hugely in China in recent years. In 2012, there were 22 organised races. In 2018, there were 328, and lots of marathons around China. It is growing in popularity, and of course, with the growth in popularity come some difficulties. There was an ultra marathon where 21 people were killed. You may have seen that. Lots of lessons have been learned from that. There is also the 50-year-old chain-smoking marathon runner, Chen Biangshan. I wouldn't mind, but I particularly mind because he ran 3 hours, 29 minutes faster than I did, so at 50 years old. So yeah, that was pretty good going. It's grown in popularity. Partly, I suppose, the economy has grown. People have more spare time. I think 60% of Chinese people have expressed a preference to exercise outside rather than in the gym. They have all the kinds of things as running's grown that we do. They call it scrounge running or bandit running, where you enter a race without an official bib. I think they call it Cheng Pao, and so that is just as common as it is in the West. And they have another one which is substitute running, which is Ti Pao, which also happens in the West, where somebody runs instead of somebody else, whether just because they couldn't enter and they got a bib or whatever. But they do have all the kinds of things that relate to running in the West relate to here in China. A great highlight of this trip has been running the Great Wall. I think we went to the Tian Ye part, I think that's what it's called, but there are 3 parts close to Beijing. It's a very long wall and it's accessible in different parts of China, but probably the most well organized and most well constructed is the Tian Ye piece. You go up, we were staying in Shunyi, which is where the old airport is, or just north of that, and we were 40 minutes away, but it's probably 2 hours from Beijing. We were one of the first to get there. It was fantastic. I'm afraid of heights and man-made structures. As someone who designs them, I'm not sure I have as much faith as the general public do in man-made structures. So when I got to the wall, it is very steep in parts. And the last time I was in the wall, I was very frightened of even walking in some parts. I would sort of, you know. But this time, something very odd happened. And that was that it was really odd. I was looking down, and it's very steep in parts. You don't see it in the pictures where you see me running. It doesn't look steep, but it is pretty steep. And yeah, I found it very difficult to walking. I was very unsteady. But then I went down to a flat bit and I started running. As soon as I started running, I lost all fear of the heights of the wall or whatever. It was I don't know. I recommend it to anyone. I ran, and then I could run up the thing. I could run down the thing. You have to be very careful of your footing. But it was just beautiful to run on. Of course, you go there early in the morning. You get a sort of cable car up. Closed my eyes for some of that. Didn't look back. Didn't look down. But we got up, and it was really, really pleasant. There are toilets up there as it happens, just in case you're wondering, at the stations where you go up in the cable car. But it really is very beautiful. There is a Great Wall Marathon, and in fact I think there are 3 Great Wall Marathons that you can run in China. I think you go up 250 meters in the first 6 kilometers, and then you do that again, like at the end, another piece in the middle. It really is tough running on the wall. I'm going along fairly quickly, but I'm not running very far. But certainly for days afterwards, I could feel it in the quads. So I think the Great Wall Marathon continued through the COVID. At least one of them did. But as I said, there might be, I think, up to 3. There may be more. But if you want to do it, it's arranged through various tour partners. But you really would want to consider the elevation and the steepness before you go. But yeah, running on the wall in the morning was something really special for me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.